That is a real kick in the teeth. That is such a sickening game to lose. The final score being Arsenal 1, Chelsea 2. Look, I'm going to start with the positives because there were so many to take from today's performance. The first half especially, it was the best performance I've seen in probably 8 months since we beat Valencia. It was that good of a performance. It was exhilarating, exciting to watch. We dominated the ball. The passages of play were fantastic. Individuals having great moments. Maitland-Niles, David Luiz, Reece Nelson had a great first half. It was such an exciting, invigorating, refreshing Arsenal performance. Defensively, we looked very good as well. Callum Chambers, essential to the way we played in that opening 20-30 minutes, and such a shame that he's gone off with what looks like a serious injury, because he's been outstanding every time he's played this season, but particularly at centre half where he's getting a run of games. I think he's been so pivotal to the more structured, more organised, just overall more improved defensive performances we've seen in the past couple of weeks. And him now being out for a prolonged period of time, fingers crossed, I hope it's not, is going to be a real blow to us, because I don't think Rob Holding's ready to come back in and fill that spot just yet. Our other options are Mustafi. I don't feel too confident about him after today's performance, to be honest. I think he could have done a lot better on the Tammy Abraham goal, but saying that, so could have everyone. But the way he backed off, he's so bereft of confidence. The other option is Socrates, Mavropanos. I'm gutted. That's the one thing I'm really gutted about, is losing Callum James, because I think he's got such a high ceiling at Arsenal, and especially given the barren run that we're in the minute, he's got that opportunity to be that beacon of light in the defence. But it is what it is. It's football. These things happen. I just hope he gets a speedy recovery and we see him back in this Arsenal team as soon as possible. But this game was always going to be difficult given the amount of injuries. We've got Martinelli, Kolasinac, Socrates, Tierney, Ceballos, Bellerin, the list goes on. It's kind of endless of players we've got out, and I think we've done very well with the players we've got at our disposal. The fact we're having to constantly recycle the same players in games, and I think it was inevitable that in that second half we were going to have some sort of burnout, and I think that's what has cost us the game today. I don't think it's not for want of trying, for giving up. I don't think it's any of those things. I think a lot of this is down to the fact that we've played so much football recently and we simply just didn't have enough gas in the tank in that second half. I do think Arteta could have been a bit more wise with his substitutions. Lacazette was knackered after about 50 minutes. There were other players in the midfield that needed to come off the pitch. I think it was amazing that Guendouzi saw out pretty much this whole game. I would have made substitutions earlier. I think that's something that was a little bit naive possibly. But again, in the grand scheme of things, we're 2 games in. We saw a very promising performance against Bournemouth, an electrifying first half today. It's Mikel Arteta's second professional game in charge, and there's so many positives to take from that. And I do see a clear process, a clear way of playing, and that's not what I saw under Unai Emery in the past couple of months. So I'm very excited about what Arteta can bring to the table, and we've barely even scratched the surface. We're only just at the beginning. When we've got these players coming in, when we see Pepe in full form, when we've got Tierney back, when we've got Bellerin back, when we've got a couple of signings in the January transfer window, then I think this team can achieve great things. And I think it hats off to Arteta for getting the best out of that team today, because you look at it on paper and it looks kind of like an ordinary lineup. You've got Maitland-Niles at right back, you've got Saka at left back, you've got Chambers and Luiz at centre half, Torreira and Guendouzi, who I thought were awful under Emery together, played both of them magnificently in that first half. Ozil ahead of them, who was again excellent for the time he was on the pitch today. Nelson, Aubameyang on the left hand side, who was so prolific going forward and tracking back in the first half particularly, and then Lacazette leading the line. It's not the most exciting Arsenal 11, but I think we made the best of the players we've got, and Arteta is getting the best out of the players that he does currently have at his disposal. And inevitably, we are going to concede goals. It's a makeshift team. It's definitely a makeshift back line. And I was very encouraged by what I saw, but it's sickening to lose the game in the way that we did. Leno making the mistake and Jorginho scoring it, who never should have been on the pitch. Awful officiating from the referee today. Just completely lost control of the game. I know you can say that Chelsea should have probably had a couple of fouls go their way as well, but I think if you're looking at the Jorginho incident in isolation, the foul he made in comparison to the cards that the likes of Guendouzi, Torreira picked up throughout the course of this match, it's bewildering that another yellow card wasn't given in that game. So in that instance, he never should have been on the pitch, and he shouldn't have been available to score that goal. So I'm really disappointed that the officials have got that wrong, but I don't want to talk about that as the reason as to why we lost this game. We lost this game because we handed it to Chelsea in the second half, and as I say, I don't think that's because we just gave up. I think it's a lot more to do with the fact that we just are knackered at the minute, and I don't think it's a masterclass from Frank Lampard at all, because I thought Chelsea were dreadful in the first half, and I don't think they were particularly better in the second half, to be honest. It's just we gave them the opportunities to go and win the game. They created very, very little when they did have the ball, and I think that's part of the reason why we sort of sat back in that second half, which I think was the wrong tactic to employ, but I could see Arteta's thinking that when they did have possession in the first half, it was very much side to side, and then they'd put it out of touch. So I can sympathise with why he might have thought that would be the right approach, but we had so many chances to score once again. If we'd have kept going on in the manner that we did, as I say, I don't think there was enough gas in the tank on this occasion, but if we'd have carried on, I'm confident we'd have scored another 2 or 3 goals. I thought we were that good going forward. I thought we were really, really excellent. I thought Lacazette was back in form today. Aubameyang was amazing. Reece Nelson had a really good game, I thought. Ozil was pulling the strings in midfield, and we lost a lot of cohesion, a lot of balance when Ozil came off. We just couldn't grasp the midfield, and it's a very inexperienced midfield. Well, I say very inexperienced. I mean, they're young guys. Torreira's 23, Guendouzi's 20, and you've got Joe Willock coming on who's 20 as well. So it's a very young midfield when you compare it to the likes of Jorginho, Kovacic, Kante. It's obviously going to be tough for those guys, but I thought Torreira was impeccable today. I thought he was really, really good. Went down, seemingly, I can't work out if it's a foul or if Torreira went down too easily on the Jorginho goal, but after that, I mean, Leno was bereft of confidence. The team went into panic mode. We went from sitting back to the complete opposite, trying to get a goal at the other end, and it's cost us. They've hit us on the break. We've been caught in no man's land. Mustafi has just backed off and backed off. It's a very easy goal for Abraham. And Chelsea, I'm not going to say deserved winners, but I don't want to say we deserved to win either, because I don't think we did based on that second half performance. I can't say we deserve to win. I can't. I'd love to say we could. We did deserve to win it. But I do feel like if we'd have bought our A game in that second half, then we would have deserved to win it. But it's just one of those things. It's football. It's how it plays out sometimes. And I am gutted. I am honestly gutted with how this has played out, because based on the first half performance, I could sit here and talk about how good we were for hours on end, and I wish I could do that. But I am as excited as I am about what Arteta is putting into the club. I've got to be realistic. We're 6 points above the drop. That's scary. That's really, really scary. I mean, hopefully it doesn't come to that. A string of wins under our belt, and we're talking about a different story now. But top four's gone, and I think we've got to succumb to that fact. It's been, kind of a realisation for a while now. If we'd have won today, then it would have been back on, would have been 5 points behind. But now 11 points behind, halfway through the season, it's just not achievable. I can't see us getting that many wins, and I can't see the likes of Chelsea, City, Leicester dropping that many points. So in my view, top four is gone. All we can hope for now is a very strong end to the season. We see a good style of football employed, which we currently are, and we see a good progress in the FA Cup. I'd love to win the FA Cup. That would be a fantastic season for me if we could win that, given the state we're in. I'd love that. I'd go mental if we won the FA Cup, to be honest with you. We've still got the Europa League, which I'm kind of half-arsed about, but it is another entry into the Champions League, so I think we've got to take that seriously. And I mean, there are still positives to come out of this season for sure, but I do think top four is something that we can't realistically think about being achievable. So yeah, that's my take on it. Got United next on New Year's Day. That should be fun. But I do think if we build on what we saw today and we make a few changes, because I do think Arteta has to rotate the squad now. I do think I don't want to say we can win that game, but I do think, honestly, I believe if we play the way we did today, then we can win that game, especially in that first half. But Arteta's got to be a bit more wise with his substitutions. He's got to bring them on a bit sooner. He's got to keep the squad fit, keep them healthy, make sure they can sustain 90 minutes of quality football. But this game is in a couple of days' time, so it's going to be tough. I hope he gets the lineup right. I think he did today. I think we're seeing a really good style of football employed at Arsenal. I think we're seeing a pattern of play. We're seeing something we can all get behind. Don't want to speak too soon, but I mean, I'm definitely excited by Arsenal again, and I don't want to be too downbeat about today's result when there's so many positives to take from the game. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. But positives to take. I hope Arteta sees it that way as well, and we move on to United. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments box below. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and as always, I will speak to you very, very soon. See you later, guys.